Hello, this is Ian Bratt speaking. I'm CEO of MoneyWise. It's your money, use it wisely. The purpose of this presentation is to review the concept of reconciliation. Reconciliation is a part of the software process, and occasionally it's possible to get an error message. I want to walk you through how there are two major ways of us being able to alleviate and remedy those situations. I'm going to take as our example our old friends Mr. and Mrs. Test Customer. What is a reconciliation error? Well, your financial plan works very similar to your checking account. And we all know that it's very important to balance our checkbook to the bank account. There's nothing worse than being overdrawn. And there's nothing worse than not knowing or being afraid to look to see whether you're overdrawn. Let's pretend we are opening a brand new bank account. I'm not going to use the words debit and credit because sometimes people find those confusing. Let's just say that money goes in when a deposit is made and money comes out as an expense when you go to the ATM to withdraw money or when you write a check or similar. We have a brand new checking account here. It has $0 in it. We're going to open the account and then immediately deposit $500, which of course then becomes our new balance. In this example, we've got a couple of expense withdrawals, $150 and $75, and we can see that each time that takes place, the balance reduces. We can see a new deposit, $1,800 went in, and then $1,485 came out, and we see a balance of $590. Now, if this was my account, let's say I go to the ATM in the shopping mall to withdraw some money. Let's say I try to take out $860. Well, chances are the ATM is going to refuse to do that. The reason being is there's only $590 in the account. I would be underwater by the amount of $270. And so that transaction would either not go through or it would be immediately reversed. I may have to make a more modest withdrawal of $400 instead of $860 because that's the amount of money that's left in my account. I need to keep a positive balance. The reconciliation process within your MoneyWise software works on the similar process that your balance can't go negative. Can't spend money that you don't have. In the MoneyWise back office, as you are there, as a customer, you'll be able to click on the tutorial tab there, and you'll see that that will bring up the videos, and there is one specifically there for reconciling, and I've highlighted that in blue for you. It is a brief video presentation, but it's only 12 minutes, but it would be a worthwhile exercise to review the training contained within that tutorial video. In the meantime, I'd like to show you a couple of different scenarios which are very common for people who are using the software for perhaps the first or second time as they begin to navigate around the product. You see, here's the problem. We have our Mr. and Mrs. Test Customer. Their money coming in is shown in green. They have $7,200 that come in on a monthly basis. Their expenses are $5,600, and so they do have a surplus. They do have some discretionary funds, which of course we're going to apply to their loans to swiftly make them debt-free. However, that view is a view of the monthly summary, and there are days within the month and there are transactions within the month which need to be taken into consideration. So let's talk about some reconciliation errors, and let's talk about rookie mistake number one. And this is something that I see on a frequent basis. Here we have a test customer, Mr. and Mrs. Test Customer. We've created their transactions. They have a very healthy dashboard. We can see the debt that they have outstanding, which is their consumer debt plus their mortgage. And although the mortgage was going to run for 30 years, we can see that we're going to be able to have them pay that off much swifter in just over 12 years. So we're very excited that they're going to be able to use the product. We can also see the graph that we're very familiar with concerning the traditional method versus the wealth acceleration method, and then we can see the results of investments if they use their funds appropriately and correctly. And similar to the pie chart on the previous slide, we can now see that in form of a bar graph of green for the money that's coming in, red for the money that's going out, and we can see that there is a healthy amount of discretionary. However, it says that on July 25th, you do not have sufficient funds in your wealth acceleration account for reconciling. We can see at the bottom of the chart that they have a number of transactions which are going to take place. And the very first one is there, 725, and they were going to put gas in their automobiles. And there's the clue. The date was the 25th of July. And the first transaction is one on the 25th of July, and it's for $87.50. Looking at the financial information under Edit Financial, one of the things that strikes me immediately is looking at the checking account, I can see that the balance is zero. You see, when Mr. and Mrs. Test Customer were setting up their software, they set up with their incomes and their expenditures, but they forgot to add in the checking account balance, and they left it at zero. When you're setting up your financial profile, I would suggest to you to exercise a great deal of care. You can either set it up as it stands today, because as you begin to use the platform, it goes live immediately, or alternatively, you might want to have it set up so that it begins working on Sunday or Monday coming up. Or maybe I'll have it start on the 1st of next month or the 15th. I can still enter the data and then make sure I do have an accurate balance on my checking account, perhaps going online and checking the balance. You see, here was the problem. There was no money in the bank account, and so on the 25th, there was no money to meet the gas. There was no money on the 26th to put into their long-term saving account. They had an auto loan that was due on the 27th. There was insufficient money. It's not until the 1st of August, when one of the salaries reaches the account, that they can begin to see positive balances. So there are two issues here. Either delay the expenses until such time as the deposit has been made, or alternatively, make sure that the opening bank account balance is correct. And again, I just want to reiterate how similar in logic it is. So what did we do? We went back and we put the balance incorrectly, and all of a sudden we got rid of the error message. So the remedy number one for one of the more frequent challenges concerning reconciliation is make sure that the bank account balance is correct. The other main reconciliation rookie mistake that I see is number two. Let's go back to Mr. and Mrs. Test Customer here. We have their account in good standing. Looking at the bottom there, we can see that they have some future transactions coming up. There's the car gas bill when they're going to go and put fuel in both of their vehicles. They have their savings. Everything's looking fine because they've now got a healthy checking account balance. There's actually going to be $2,000 or $3,000 in there, if I remember right, in this example. We can see that Mr. Test Customer is going to have his salary of $2,000 arrive on the 1st of August. In this example, I'm going to add, in the red circle there, a new household expense. It's a one-time special event expense that I'm adding. It's going to be a hefty sum of $3,000, and I'm going to schedule it for the 28th of the month. Well, it's been accepted, and it's now added in, but look at the bottom of the screen. It tells us that the monthly discretionary income has become negative. And if we then at the bottom click on the button to start the reconciliation process, we get a message. It says that on the 28th, you do not have sufficient funds in the account for reconciling. One of the solutions to that may have been, instead of to have the expense go out on the 28th of the month, if we could have waited until he'd been paid on the 1st, then it would have been okay. So one of the solutions to matching the income versus the expenditure would be to review the date and the amount of the transactions. So these are the remedy points I would ask you to consider if you are getting reconciliation errors. First of all, are there sufficient funds in the checking account? And if there aren't, is it possible that funds could be moved or transferred from another account? That may get you over a situation. Alternatively, can you change the due date of an upcoming transaction? And if you are locked in with one transaction, then can you change the due dates of the transactions that surround it? Can you delay one payment because there's a higher priority pressing payment? Or can you even change the dollar amount? If it's a discretionary amount instead of a fixed amount, could you get by with a smaller amount? The point to remember is that the reconciliation transactions have to do with the availability of funds. I'd like to thank you. I wish you success as a customer using the MoneyWise platform. I hope that your debts are reducing, and I hope that your wealth is building. Thank you very much.